Every missile taken down means lives saved. Here with a German short-range Gepard, or here, one missile taken down with a machine gun.
It's a pity that I didn't shoot down 3. It's a shame that 2 got through. They hit civilian targets or critical infrastructure facilities and people work there.
These are Ukrainian drone hunters, and day and night they scan the skies, eyes in the backs of their heads. Their machine gun loaded onto an armored vehicle, trading warmth for agility.
The trajectories of the missiles and drones are constantly changing, which means that stationary units were not enough, so we created mobile ones.
Most nights, this is what the skies above Ukraine look and sound like. And more than a year into the war, all that Western equipment is helping. On Wednesday night, over 90 missiles and 8 Shahed drones were detected. Of those, more than 30 missiles and 4 Shaheeds were intercepted, says the Ukrainian military. Here in the frontline town of Kupiansk, you can see what more than a year of heavy artillery and mortar fire have done. It was again the case on Wednesday night. There's not much air defense can do about that. On the whole, what the Ukrainian military says is that with Western help, its air defense systems have actually been remarkably efficient, and from the very start of the invasion.
If this hadn't happened, we would probably not be talking to you now, and there would be no such country as Ukraine. Thanks to the Air Force, we really managed to hold the keys to the sky.
This is a rare close-up look at Iran's technology of death. A Shahed drone, relatively intact for having been fished out of the Black Sea. At its head, it would have carried 50 kilograms worth of explosives. This is what 20 kilograms looks like. And this is what that looks like on the ground. Part of Russia's devastating war of attrition, with civilian casualties on most nights, way beyond the front lines of the east. And Aaron, beyond the direct casualties that I mentioned there are, of course, all the indirect casualties. We're only just getting power restored here to the wider Kharkiv region. In Kharkiv city, there hasn't been power since those overnight strikes from Wednesday to Thursday. That means people, no electricity, no water, nothing to wash and clean with for all that time. And that's part of this war of attrition, Aaron.
Absolutely. Melissa, thank you very much there in reporting all of that. I want to bring in now the former U.S. ambassador to Russia, John Sullivan. And Ambassador, you know, you saw there Melissa standing with that drone and the payload of the drone, as she was showing you sort of what half of a payload would look like, but we're talking about 110 pounds. That's the payload there. In the context of the reporting here that Ukraine is saying that Russia's used 40% of its highest-end missiles, the Kinzhal hypersonic missiles, 6 in yesterday's attack alone. Why would Putin use so many of his best missiles in one attack at this point?
Well, thanks, Aaron. Good to be with you. When they use a missile like the Kinzhal, which can't be intercepted by the Ukrainians, that means they definitely want to hit the target they're aiming at. They don't want to run a risk that the missile that's heading for that target is going to be intercepted. The trade-off they make is that it's a very expensive and sophisticated weapon system, which is why the Ukrainians can't intercept it. Why in yesterday's attack? This was payback for what happened in Russia last week, when elements crossed the border from Ukraine into Russia and launched an attack.
So today, Prigozhin, the Wagner Group chief, of course, announced he's opening these new recruitment centers across Russia, dozens of them, 8 in Moscow alone, which, of course, as I mentioned, is home to Russia's elite, the wealthier citizens, really has not sent many soldiers to the front lines, although someone was telling me the other day that sometimes now you go down in the subways and there are people waiting to talk to men and to bring them, to mobilize them. Does this move the needle at all, this sort of recruiting, these recruitment centers?
In my opinion, absolutely not. This move indicates that Prigozhin's prior recruitment efforts in another area, the Russian prisons, have been closed off to him. Russian men know how, if they wanted to volunteer for Wagner, Wagner had already opened a headquarters in St. Petersburg. People know how to volunteer for Wagner. This is more publicity for Prigozhin. He's making these types of statements every day.
Do you think he's like existentially threatened in any way? I mean, I know there's been this ongoing fight between him and the regular military, but he's saying he has no ammo, can't get in touch with anybody, nobody will take his calls. Go ahead.
You call the Minister of Defense and the Chief of the General Staff traitors. I'm not surprised no one will take his calls in the Russian military establishment.
So earlier this week, I spoke with a Russian journalist, and he had some really strong reporting, exclusive look at Putin's lavish life with his reputed girlfriend, the former Russian Olympic gold medalist, Alina Kabaeva. Roman Badanin is the reporter, and he shared these pictures of, reportedly, of Putin's home. He said that's the exterior in Valdai, and he also had the interiors decked out in gold, all sorts of different rooms, and he was showing us all of this. Now, Kabaeva's mansion's about half a mile away. If this is the way Putin lives, and we understand that he may still be spending a lot of time there, do you think Putin's lifestyle has been affected by the war or not, Ambassador?
Well, I mean, from what we've seen, his lifestyle has been affected in the following sense, Aaron. He can't travel by air anywhere close to in southwestern Russia. In getting to Sochi, for example, one of his most favorite places to go, he can't travel there by air. He's now traveling more by train. He's concerned about his own safety. As for the economic impacts, if the question is more about supporting his lavish lifestyle, I don't think that's as much of a concern as concerns about his own safety.
As concerns about his own safety. But amazing on that issue of the actual lifestyle itself, with all of the sanctions we hear about, you think that would be verily untouched at this point?
I would think so. I mean, if money's going to go to anybody in that system, it's going to the guy at the top, and he's got plenty of it. And the Russian people themselves are aware of this. They've seen through Navalny's organization the $1 billion palace he's got in Sochi. So this isn't a surprise to anyone either. But it's very interesting to see the photographs you referred to and to see it actually documented.
Yeah, it certainly is. Some great reporting by Mr. Badanin and his team. All right, thank you so much, Ambassador Sullivan. I appreciate your time.